Okay, so to finish up with cellular respiration, then what you'll need to know is the chemical equation, and keeping in mind that you and I are eating sugar and we're breathing oxygen, not because we need carbon dioxide, not because we need the water, but because we want to make and have those 36 to 38 ATPs. And of course, you need that energy if you're awake, if you're asleep, because cellular processes are still taking place and most of them require ATP. Okay, cellular respiration is broken into 3 stages. And if you take a look at your textbook, those 3 stages are pretty complicated and they've got way more information than what is really going to increase the quality of your life. So our goal isn't to try to understand or really, dive in deep into the cellular respiration. It's to sort of I want to just kind of gloss over it because if we were in class meeting face to face, I would be glossing over it, you guys, because even though, the state of California says, you need to know these 3 stages and what's taking place, it is definitely not going to increase the quality of your life. So, but knowing that it takes place in 3 stages is important. So the first stage is called glycolysis. The second stage is called the citric acid cycle. And the third stage is the electron transport chain. And the whole process looks like this. Here's an overview of it. And so you can see it's pretty complicated in its nature right there. And so just notice that it's taking place inside the mitochondria. Part of it is. But if we start out here with the first stage of glycolysis, glycolysis actually happens out inside the cytoplasm. So before the sugar goes into the mitochondria, it has to be broken in half because C6H12O6, that ring structure that we've looked at so many times, it's too big to actually get into the mitochondria. So glycolysis is a process that breaks the sugar in half. Those 2 sugars are called pyruvic acid. So it's no longer called a glucose molecule because now it's only a C3H6O3, right? It's broken in half. And so those 2 sugars, those 2 halves, are called pyruvic acid. The pyruvic acid then is transported into the mitochondria where the second stage takes place, and that second stage is called the citric acid cycle. And basically what's happening in the citric acid cycle is all of those hydrogens are being removed from the sugar. Keeping in mind that what cellular respiration is removing the hydrogens off of the sugar and moving them over to the oxygen that we breathe and turning it into water. And again, it's the movement of those electrons that are actually the energy. And that's what is taking place inside the citric acid cycle. And so those hydrogens are being pulled off, and there they are. So they're being picked up by this molecule called NAD. And NAD picks up the hydrogens and moves them over to the electron transport chain. And that movement through the electron transport chain is how the ATP is made. So the hydrogens are being stripped off of the molecule here in the citric acid cycle. They get stripped off and they move over to the third process. And the third process is called the electron transport chain. Some people call it ETC for electron transport chain. But in the electron transport chain, this is where the actual ATP is produced. And the only way to get it produced is to move those hydrogens and their electrons. Once we've moved those hydrogens and their electrons to make the ATP, we don't need the hydrogen anymore, and so that hydrogen then forms with the oxygen that you and I inhale, and it becomes water. So when citric acid cycle is completely done and all of the hydrogens have been stripped off of the carbon backbone of that sugar, we're back to carbon dioxide. That's what gets exhaled. Once the hydrogens have been moved through the electron transport chain, I don't need them anymore. They've already made for me the ATP. They now get formed with water. I don't need it. This is all we were after, was this energy. That's cellular respiration. And as you can see from this, it's a pretty complicated mess. But again, you guys, it's not the kind of thing that is going to increase your quality of life of understanding all of these little nuances. But if you like these nuances, then I have included inside the video list a video link for YouTube that explains cellular respiration. And so at any time you can pause and you can take a look at that. And again, you'll see it's a pretty detailed process, fascinating, and if you still feel really super fascinated by what it is that you're seeing there, then know that I will be teaching Bio 101, and Bio 101 is the biology for majors, and I would love to have you guys take that class with me. It would be a lot of fun. But we go through all of those details. So if detail is your sort of thing, then sign up for Bio 101, and I'll see you that semester. Okay, so here's the overall reaction, remembering that you and I are eating sugar and we're breathing oxygen. And the truth is that in order to get the energy from the sugar molecule, I'm going to break that chemical bond. And when I break that chemical bond, that energy that is released will be used to make ATP. So it just brings us right back to the very beginning of the things that we've been learning about, that energy is not created or destroyed, it's only changing form. And so from our sugar, it's being turned into ATP. And that chemical energy in the form of ATP is now how we're able to do our work. Well, that pretty much, takes care of the overall look of it. So if we want to just do the details of it, here are some of the details. Knowing that glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm. It splits the glucose into 2 pyruvic acids. It does produce a small amount of ATP in doing that, because remember, I'm breaking a chemical bond, and so by breaking that sugar in half, that releases energy. That energy is now turned into ATP. When chemical bonds break, energy is made. The citric acid cycle takes place inside the mitochondria, and that's where the hydrogens are going to be removed from the pyruvic acid. They get carried over to the electron transport chain by this molecule called NADPH. That's not right. It's NADH. There's something wrong in this. This should not be a P, you guys. P would be if it was in photosynthesis. So it's NAD plus this hydrogen to make NADH. And you'll see that, NADH, right there. There's no P. So the electron transport chain takes place inside the membrane of the mitochondria. That's where the hydrogens get dropped off. They move through the inner mitochondrial membrane. That's where we produce the ATP. When those hydrogens come out, they combine with the oxygen that you and I breathe to form water. And so, here's an interesting question, because you've probably heard or seen, like on James Bond movies, where, you know, if James Bond is captured, supposed to put this pill underneath his tongue or whatever and eat this potassium cyanide pill, and it'll cause him to die immediately. Well, that's true. You guys, cyanide is incredibly poisonous, and what it does is it stops the electron transport chain. It interrupts it or stops it. And so the question here is, what would happen to your ATP production if in fact the electron transport chain was interrupted, and how long could your cells survive? Good questions. Anyway, I hope that you guys are doing well. So for now, this is where I want to end our presentation. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're able to find some normal activities and some normalcy inside these really strange times. I know for me, everything feels really weird. And then, of course, trying to transition to online education, online learning, remote learning, it's kind of a pretty big hurdle. So I think what we'll do is we'll just sort of start out slow. I will post some more stuff and be in contact with you guys, you know, early next week. And I will post more stuff and give you an idea as to which direction I think we're going to go. And I'll keep adjusting our learning objectives as we go along the way. I don't really know much more than you do about the college campus. I know that they're closing the campus so that, you know, even I won't be allowed to go back onto campus. So there are no labs. There will be no labs. I don't know if that's going to take us all the way into April. Right now they're talking about like into April 3rd or something. But there has been no talk about reopening it, but there's also been no talk about keeping it closed either. So honestly, I have no idea. But hang in there with me. We're going to get through this together. Obviously, the college is going to have to make some adjustments as far as your lab requirements go. I don't believe they're going to make you retake the class. I think if you continue to do the work that, you know, is outlined for you through, you know, Canvas, what I'm putting up for you, I think if you continue to stay engaged in the class, then there will be no reason that you would have to take it again. So hang in there with me. If there's something more that I can do to help you, let me know. Like I said, I'm thinking about going on to Zoom so that way, you know, perhaps we can see each other and then feel a little bit more sense of, you know, class community. I don't know if that would be beneficial for you or make it more difficult for you. But anyway, feel free to, you know, shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing. Shoot me an email, let me know what, you know, if you feel one way or another. But until next week, you guys, just stay safe. Stay, you know, contained within your own space so that, you know, the virus hopefully doesn't make its way to you. Get outside a little bit. Enjoy the fresh air, I guess in your backyard. But enjoy the fresh air and do the things that you need to do to keep yourself healthy and sane. And anyway, know that I'm thinking about you, and I'm trying to come up with some fun things for you to do and some worksheets that will help you. But so I'm going to set this thing live today. Let me know if something doesn't work out. Complete the reading guide, the reading review sheet that I've put in there, and let me know if there's problems with that. But I think if you're working at that level, everything's going to be just fine. So I will touch base with you again soon. Enjoy your weekend.